All right, everybody, welcome back into the Auburn Live Modcast. Another season is here. We got the whole crew together: Cole Pinkston, Jeffrey Lee, and myself. What's up, fellas? You ready for 2024?
The Modcast.
Heck yeah, man! I am ready for some football.
Yeah, I'm sick. Ironically, I'm sick of talking about it.
Yeah,
I am a
yeah.
little bit too.
I felt like that this week. I don't know if it was Alabama A&M, but we did media interviews, and it was like it's kind of a weird. I don't know. But we're still. I don't know. You're in that weird thing between fall camp and it's Alabama A&M, and you're probably going to blow them out. And ready to learn something. Learn something about this team. I don't know what we're going to learn against Alabama A&M, but I'm ready to see somebody play.
I personally don't think we learn much. I mean, honestly, if you learn anything, it would be bad. Like, you don't want it to be close. If it's close, then you learn, this might not be good. And I don't think
Listen, if this is close, then
hey,
we all are going to be reevaluating life. Okay.
We probably said something very similar in New Mexico State week last year. I mean, I hate to be that guy.
Listen, can we just stop bringing that up?
Never.
That game didn't happen.
Boy.
No, Justin, what I was going to say is typically a game like this, I'd be like, whatever, dude. Let's just get it over with and move on.
Yeah.
But there's so many new faces, so many unknowns, so many new things that I'm curious to see. You know, I'm curious to see the new wide receivers. I'm curious to see what happens with the offensive line. I'm curious to see where Percy Lewis lines up and gets most of his actions. I'm curious about the new defenders, the new transfers. I'm curious to see, obviously, how Peyton Thorne looks. So, typically, I would be like, do I really have to go? But you know what? I'm because the scrimmage and all the stuff that we got to see in the fall, and even going back to the A-Day game in the spring, who gives a crap? You know, I'm actually looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to the new guys, the new team, and to see how things go. I mean, I'm looking forward to the offensive play calling. I'm looking to see what differences there are from last year, and if there are noticeable differences. So I'm actually as fired up about Alabama A&M as you can get.
That's fair. And I like your point about play calling, in-helmet communication. Although, you know, I don't know how much of that will be noticeable, but you'll just maybe have to really, really watch. Maybe do they huddle more and things like that, but you won't necessarily see. We're not hearing what they're saying, so we won't necessarily see the difference there, but we could see it somewhat. But the playing call, it could be something you could go, things feel a little different. The rhythm feels a little different. I think that'll be interesting. Hugh Freeze has hinted a bunch about huddling, potentially huddling a little bit more, and did a lot of strategy with the in-helmet communication. So maybe they try some of that stuff out. And you're right. There's a lot of new faces. You don't want to just go crazy with, look, they're going to blow Alabama A&M out. They're going to come out and be so fired up. This team's going to be so fired up to just play, put last season behind them, flip the page, all that stuff, that they're going to be ready for this game like it was Oklahoma. They're just going to be so ready to play that I think they're just going to destroy them.
I'm with you.
I mean, I don't disagree. That's for sure. They should.
So, Cole, you think they're going to be a little reserved, a little conservative?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I think they're going to open some things up. I think they need to see some things in action. There's too much new, like y'all were talking about. They got to see some of these things. Just kind of like a 3-point shooter. You got to throw a few up there, see them go down, start feeling better about what you're looking at here. And that's what they're going to do with some deep shots. I think they'll do some back shoulders and have some maybe deeper options off of the RPOs. They got to take some shots and figure out what they've got. Hey, they look great in practice. What do they look like in real live game action? And by the way, just want to make this comment about the helmet communication. That's like a hot topic right now. And I just, it's not for me. I don't really care about it. I've gotten a million questions about it, and I don't have much opinion on it, because if they go through this game and they're like, hey, I didn't care for that, they'll throw it out the window. They won't use it. They don't have to use it. That's exactly how that will go if it doesn't work out for them.
All right, talk about Prize Picks, and we'll talk about
PrizePicks is back. PrizePicks. If you're not familiar with PrizePicks, we've been I think they've been sponsoring the show for the last couple of years. I think it's a lot of fun. Gets you personally involved with a lot of different games, and it's easy. PrizePicks is the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. Try saying that fast. We are the easiest. They are the easiest. The most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. It's cool. It's like, I'll get to that in a minute. So you're basically testing your skills on PrizePicks this football season. It's the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. It gives you quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types that make PrizePicks the number one game. When Auburn plays a decent opponent, we'll have those projections. This week, I was looking at a couple. Clemson and Georgia seem to be the most talked about game. The more or less for Carson Beck, UGA quarterback, is 262.5 passing yards. And then you've got Cade Klubnik, the Clemson quarterback, at 190.5. You think Georgia's going to throw for 263 or more?
Against Clemson?
No,
against Clemson.
Yeah.
Georgia's got some pretty good receivers. Who did they got, who's the guy they got from, they got London Humphreys from Vanderbilt, good player. And then, of course, they brought back some guys from last year. So they'll be, I don't know that they have like that.
They brought in Ra Thomas.
Ra, yeah.
You know what? I think they might turn him loose. They want him to be in the Heisman talk right out of the gate.
Yeah,
I'd probably take more on that. Cade Klubnik.
Yeah.
I've never been a big fan of his, but he'll probably show me wrong. But 190.5, they're probably going to be playing from behind.
Jeffrey, is it because he plays for Dabo?
No. I'm going to take the more on him as well. But anyway, stuff like that. Shedeur Sanders is in here against North Dakota State. 2.5 passing TDs. Would you take more or less on that?
Yeah, give me more.
Give me more on that. Shedeur Sanders, 304 and 0.5 passing yards. They're expecting a big game from him, and I would not doubt that at all. Travis Hunter, 73.5 receiving yards. So stuff like that, man, you take the more or less, and it's a lot of fun to play. You do 2 to 6 of them, and it's like a multiplier. So go to PrizePicks website or download the app. Use the promo code Auburn Live. That's all caps, one word. Receive a guaranteed $50 once you play $5 in lineups. That's PrizePicks. Go to the website or download the app. Use the promo code Auburn Live, all caps, one word, and you'll receive a guaranteed $50 off. Guaranteed $50 once you play $5 in lineups.
Tell you what, there's 2 things I really like about PrizePicks. Number 1, Flex Friday. If y'all never done that, Flex Friday is like you get your money back on any bet you make, guaranteed. Or they have all kinds of deals, and then
any risk.
Yeah, or you can 20-time multiply it or whatever. They have all these deals on Flex Friday, and then I'll sign out of it for a month or 2. I'll come back and I'll have like $5 or $10 in there gifted to me. Like, here, welcome back. I love it. It's great.
All right. So if I had to set Peyton Thorne for Saturday, would you go over or under? Would you go over or under 215 passing, 215 passing yards?
More.
Me too. Yeah, I think they're going to turn him loose.
Yeah, I think they just have to.
Yeah, it's like Cole, man. Here's the ball. Go shoot until I tell you to stop.
Yeah, right. Which, I mean, if you're talking about their base offense, I think that's going to be their base offense. It's not. It's going to be RPO, but Peyton Thorne has the pre-snap decision if he's going to hand it off or if he's going to throw these slants or bubbles or hitches or even the back shoulder off of the RPO. So he's probably going to decide to throw it a lot because he's going to like his matchups.
What about you, Justin?
Yeah, I'd maybe lean over. I mean, I do think it's one of those games though where, I mean, they also could bust off some long runs. Here's what I don't want to see, and it's not like it would be a bad thing, but I would rather not see Jarquez has a 50-yard touchdown run, Cam has a 45-yard touchdown pass, like these big plays where you don't get to really see a lot of execution. You're just completely outmanned them, and you have some big long plays, and you look up and you go, all right, you scored 50 points, but you know you only ran like however many plays. It was just so outmatched. I would love to see, not that I want to see him struggle. I just want to see some. I want to see some execution, but I want to see enough on offense that I feel decent about the receivers and the quarterback being on the same page. Like enough RPOs, enough little things where you're going, for the most part, gosh, the receivers, I feel like they ran the right route every time. I don't know. I want to see a little bit of that, a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of flow, not just you played a JV team and of course you beat them and you go into Cal and you weren't even, there was zero tested, there was zero strife. There was nothing really to learn from it. So I don't know. So I would go over, I guess, for Peyton, but not much. I mean, I could easily see him going for about 215, and then the running backs running for 250 combined. I mean, Jeremiah and Damari and Jarquez and all those dudes getting going.
I'll tell you what I want.
Personally and selfishly, I need to see Peyton Thorne throw for 250. Yeah, I really need it, man. I don't need to see Hank Brown. I need to see Peyton Thorne, and I need to see him have a lot of success.
I don't have the stats on this, but if I were a betting man, I'd be willing to bet that the yards after catch, were really low for Auburn a year ago. I think they were probably really low. Is that a safe bet, y'all think?
Oh, yes. Gosh, yes.
Okay, so let's assume that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was better than I think, but let's assume that. I want to see some yak yards because you talk about having this cast around Peyton Thorne is going to help him. Well, that's a big deal. Those yak yards, hey, you throw a slant, an easy target throw right in front of you, and he takes it to the house. Where's that been? I haven't seen that in years at Auburn.
Absolutely.
I'm ready to see that. That's what I need to see. I want to see the short throws turn into big plays.
That would be nice. Yeah, I was trying to look it up. I know I was looking the other day, and I know Peyton's yards per attempt was only about 6 or 7 yards last year. So, I mean,
yards per attempt, you can look at some of these quarterbacks with really good skill players around them, and their yards per attempt may not be impressive, but the yak yards make it, their numbers explode, even though their yards per attempt are short because receivers are making plays after they make the catch, and that makes the quarterback better. It's really, it's not that complicated. Football is not as complicated as some like to make it. It can be very simple. Jimmy's and Joe's X's and O's thing. Well, they're getting better in the Jimmy's and Joe's part, so they'll get better. It's really that simple.
Yeah, we've heard a little bit about missed assignments the last week or so from Hugh Freeze in terms of the young receivers. Although, when we're up there watching it from the press box, we can't really tell. I mean, you could, if you know enough about the play, you could maybe watch a play, but there's so much that goes on in this RPO stuff that it's a little bit hard to tell for us. Who's that on? What was the read? Was that the quarterback? Was it the receiver? Right. But I'll be eager to see, I guess, here after the game, maybe, or certainly next week, if there were a lot of missed assignments from the young guys, because that's as talented as they are, that RPO system. I mean, it can be dicey if you're not on the same page. I mean, that thing can go south real quick if somebody reads something wrong. Oh, should have run a 3-yard slant, not a 5-yard slant. Like, I mean, it's something so small. And then you watch a ball get thrown behind him and you're like, oh, that was a bad throw. No, dude ran the wrong depth on the slant route or whatever. So I don't know how much we'll see during the game, but I'd like to hear that stuff was pretty clean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you brought up Percy Lewis. Like the offensive line might be one of the more intriguing things to watch. First group, second group, how they rotate. how good is how's Tyler Johnson look? We've heard a lot about him, but he hadn't really gone out there and done it. Let's see if he can go out there and do it. Ronan Chambers is going to play a good bit. Let's see what he looks like. Braden Joyner's had a good offseason. Let's see what he looks like. EJ Harris is about to get a bunch of extended playing time. A lot of guys that have sort of been in the mix here, maybe for a year, that are about to get tossed in there. Who was backing up? DeAndre Carter. We walked out there on Tuesday, and he was the second team left guard behind Dylan Wade.
Wow.
And right before that, Jeremiah Wright said, "Hey, he's going to play," in his interview, and I didn't even catch it the first time going back and listening to the recording. I was like, he did say that. So that's an interesting development.
What if Keontae doesn't play? I think you had this somewhere, Justin. Who was the backup punt returner?
Oh gosh,
is it Malcolm Simmons?
I think it is Malcolm.
He tossed out Malcolm. He tossed out Perry. He tossed out Rice. A lot of those young guys.
Yeah,
or Will Upton.
Yeah, he was like, if we just had to catch a ball, I would toss Will Upton in there.
That's number one.
I don't know that I'd put Keontae back there. Period. I don't know. Keontae's so valuable on defense.
Completely agree.
I don't even know if I would have him as the punt returner, assuming that you trust Malcolm or even Perry, which is super intriguing. Perry's a big dude.
Yeah,
that's pretty interesting. Normally,
that's not the first name that comes to mind when I'm thinking.
No, you got limited. The guys are running at you. You got to go do, and you got to just get some yards there. Perry would be interesting, but if you trust Malcolm, maybe you get through a game. But if you trust Malcolm, I'm not putting Keontae back there, man. I'm not. I know he's a good. I know he had the return for a touchdown last year. He's good, but he's just so valuable on defense that I would love to just let that be.
Yeah,
Malcolm.
I mean, you definitely don't put him out there in this game, but when you get into a tight game and you're in a good spot on the field and you think, hey, maybe we can get a return out of this, you might throw him out there every once in a while, but definitely not the main guy. I mean, if Will Upton's the best at catching the ball, that's the guy I'd go with every time. I don't care about a return. Catch the ball. You lost the game last year because of that.
Yeah, that's back in the day when Trey Smith, that was all he was out there to do. I think it was maybe 2006. Trey Smith returned punts, but it was just catch the ball. He did a pretty good job. He dropped a few, but it was. And you're right. First is catch the ball. You don't catch the ball, nothing else matters. So Keontae's got that fearlessness about him. But I think Malcolm's got every bit that athletic. But Malcolm's kind of the perfect punt returner.
Yeah.
I mean, fast out. He's not small, but he can get going quickly. He's kind of that perfect punt returner.
Not to mention he was the punter for his high school for years, so he knows how to handle the ball too, right?
Yeah.
When I think of punt returners, I think of a guy that can make at least the first man miss. Who has the ability? And going back to Perry Thompson, I just don't see Perry as being that quick, elusive.
Oh,
I
would disagree.
Oh, okay. See.
I think he might be the most elusive guy on the team.
Really?
I think that's his best trait.
Wow. So you're talking Ryan Williams elusive.
He's more
elusive than Cam, more elusive than Malcolm and Bryce?
Let me think of he's more of a make you miss in the phone booth kind of guy to me. On the screen, like when I went to the Foley Baker game a year ago, which was between Bryce Kane and Perry Thompson, which, by the way, what a great game that was. Every single possession, Bryce and Perry were making plays. Perry played safety, so he would never come out of the game. All they could do really was jet sweeps and screens. They couldn't go deep for whatever reason, and he made the first guy miss every single time. I have film from it. It was very impressive.
Okay.
To be so big, I was impressed with that, and I didn't expect that from him. And I think he's that kind of guy. I think he's the guy you put in space. And as a punt returner, might be different, sort of a different dynamic there. But, I mean, Malcolm, like y'all were saying, Malcolm's the guy, it seems like.
Well, good on Perry, man. I did not. That's good to know.
Yeah, he can do that for sure.
Oh, Towns Magoo's going to get some legs in there, too.
Yeah. Yeah, Towns should be the kicker. Heard a little bit, probably 3 weeks ago, there's a little bit of scuttlebutt about the walk-on for Birmingham Southern, Ian Bacone, being kind of right there too. but I think Towns has just
remember
he's
he
just
hit
got that big leg.
We thought that was Towns in the scrimmage we were at, Justin, that hit that looked like a 40+ or something yard field
Yeah.
goal. and it
Vacone was the first one out there in that scrimmage we saw. Towns was the second kicker out there.
looked like he's got a pretty good leg. I don't
Yeah.
know anything about him, but quality backup.
Is Jarquez returning kicks?
It's going to be Jeremiah Cobb and Malcolm Simmons.
Yeah.
I like it.
Tanner Burns, when we talked to him the other day, he said those are my two guys right now.
Cobb and
Simmons.
So that's, to me, that's similar as the Keontae situation. It's like, and Tanner had a funny line. He's like, on one hand, I know how valuable Jarquez is. On the other hand, I don't want to be the idiot that gets Jarquez hurt on special teams or something. So it's sort of like Keontae. It's like he's very valuable and he's good at that role, but he's so valuable to what you're doing on offense or defense for Keontae. You're like, golly, if I'm okay not putting him out there, I'd rather do that. And so I think Cobb and Malcolm make a lot of sense. I mean, Jeremiah's got that speed. Plus, Jarquez plays. I mean, heck, he's been playing kickoff teams. Hopefully now with a little more depth, he doesn't have to run down on kickoff coverage too. I mean, Jarquez just like always seems to do it all.
So another thing that Tanner Burns said, because that was addressed, Jarquez Hunter, he said he took him off kickoff, right, in the original depth chart he was writing up. He said then Jarquez Hunter came to his office and said, "Hey, I need to be on kickoff." So he's like, we'll have to talk to Coach Freeze about that. But he's like, all right, well, put me on there. Don't take me off.
He loves it. He's always the first one down there. I mean, he's good at it.
Yeah, it's
you're talking about coverage team?
Yeah.
Yeah, the kickoff.
Oh.
Yeah. There's nothing better. If you've played football, there's nothing better. Of course, they're trying to change that now.
Sure, there's not much of anything now.
Being the spearhead of the kickoff team and just busting that shield.
Yeah.
That was my favorite.
Wedge buster.
The wedge buster.
Dude, the best wedge buster I've ever seen at Auburn? Brandon Jacobs.
Holy smokes. He killed a few guys.
Brandon Jacobs. I remember the game.
He's wanted for murder in like 3 states.
2003 Vanderbilt. Brandon Jacobs is on kickoff coverage and runs down the field, and 2 guys step up, and he takes on the wedge, and he hits like 3 guys at one time, and it was an absolute car crash. And 2 dudes fell. I mean, it was one dude breaking up. It was like pool. I mean, it was like Brandon Jacobs was the cue ball breaking this thing up, and it was like, holy shit. I was like, next time I'd be like, listen, you just go on through. I'm gonna do a little Olay block.
Yeah, I'm telling the returner to run that way.
Hey, don't follow the shield today. Go the other way.
Act like you're gonna block. Oh, I missed him.
Yeah.
I'll give you another throwback name that was pretty good on special teams was Tristan Davis.
Oh, Tristan.
Y'all remember him?
Oh yeah.
Played a lot of positions. And he changed he was 27, changed to 9, I think.
Yep.
Played running back.
He was one of those athletes, dude, that just never could find a spot, but he flashed everywhere. I remember at Kentucky in 2005, he was running back and had a great game at running back. And then he moved to safety, and he was really good at safety. He blocked he blocked a punt or blocked a kick in a game. But yeah, he always would flash.
Yes, absolutely. Wherever you put him.
Yeah, I was a big fan of his.
Yeah, really fast. That's a name from the past.
Yeah.
So what's the line ended up being? Is it still?
What is it at, man? Wasn't it like close to 50?
42? In the 40s. It's in the 40s, which is, I don't know if I'd take the points on that for Auburn.
Let's see what it is now.
Would y'all take, let's just say it's over 40, would y'all take that for Auburn right now?
Yes. Ooh. It looks like a few days ago it was 46.5. The over-under was 56.5.
47.5.
47.5.
Says
that. That's the line?
I think they're going to beat them. I think they're going to beat them like 56-7.
What's the over-under?
Like 57.5, something like that. 56.5.
56.5. I mean, if I had to pick that game, like if I was putting together a parlay or something, I would never even mess with this line. But if I had to pick one, I might pick over. I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on it because I don't like that's just a ton of points. And I'm not a big fan of that. But I do think Auburn's gonna smash them. Like all these young guys, first college game, it couldn't be. They're gonna be whether it's Cam or Amaris or whoever, they're gonna be jacked up. Tyler Johnson. There's just a lot of guys that are gonna come out with either something to prove or it's their first game, and so they're just gonna treat it like it's the Super Bowl or it's erasing the bad memories from last year or whatever it is. I just think you're gonna get this. Won't be like maybe in a few weeks and you play New Mexico or whatever, where you're like, okay, you played 4 or 5 games. We're going to win this one, but I'm a little bit tired. Maybe I saved myself a little bit. Like, I just think they're going to come out kind of guns a-blazing.
Let me say this, and hear me out. Okay. I think Auburn's going to win. Okay. I have no doubt in my mind. I feel pretty sure they're going to win this game. But college football today is geared so heavily toward the underdog that it makes me a little bit nervous. All right. The transfer portal helps the underdog tremendously. I mean, I'm looking at some of the guys on this team, just the 5 defensive guys that I named yesterday, transfers from Appalachian State, a starter from Fresno State, Georgia State, a guy that played with Robert Lewis over there, Cortez Andrews, who was a 4-star recruit from Florida State. He's their linebacker. Their running back, Donovan Eaglin, is a transfer from Michigan State, played with Peyton Thorne over there, I think. So, yes, they're going to have players that are quality enough to make a play against you if you're in Auburn. Then you have this whole clock thing, which absolutely helps the underdog in every single game. I hate it. I despise it. But does that make sense why I have this maybe just a little bit of an uneasy feeling about when you're playing somebody that you're supposed to be so overmatched? Does that make sense at all?
Sure.
I just have a little bit of a uneasy feeling about games like that nowadays. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe y'all should tell me I'm an idiot or I'm wrong. But that's how I feel about it.
Well, if you're making the argument they're not going to cover 47.5, that's fine.
I'm not making
or
that
are
argument.
you saying are you making the argument this is going to be like a 21-point game? That's not what you're saying, right?
I'm making the argument more that it could be a dogfight longer than you want it to.
What does that mean? That
means you go to halftime and it's not a lot to a little. It's still closer than you'd like.
17-3.
Be specific. What are you talking about? If it's what at halftime, what do you think it could actually be at halftime?
Like 21-7. Because your offense just wasn't, getting these big explosive plays to score. Maybe you were working really hard to get those points in the first half, and then it's before you know it, because of the clock rules, it's over, and you're in the second half, and you're like, "Whoa, wait a minute! There used to be more time." And of course, Alabama A&M, if they put together a couple drives to get some first downs, they're going to burn the clock, right?
That will be more. That will be, yeah. If they put actual drives together, I'm going to be pretty concerned because defense is injured. I mean, I think Auburn's defense has got a chance to be good, but there's almost more unknown on that side of the ball. New coordinator. I have no idea who's your playmaker in the interior defensive line.
I know.
I think they're going to rotate a bunch of bodies, but I don't think Tro Carter's anything great. I don't think Jason Jones is anything great. Malik Blockton has got a lot of potential, but he's a true freshman. Philip Bleedy's pretty good player, pretty strong. Gage Keys looks the part, pretty strong, but didn't have a lot of production at Kansas. It's not like that guy's like coming in here with just tons of 3 years of production. He's got very little stats. I don't know. That interior defensive line worries me a little bit. Austin Keys may or may not play. Probably a good game to keep him out. Even if he did practice a little bit, I don't think you play him. Play Asante, play Mousy, or Muasi. I still don't know how to say his name. Mousy. And then secondary would be fine. They secondary just needs some games under their belt. Like there's talent there. There's just a lot of youth. They just need, as quick as they can, they need to be tested and get over the hump. You know what I mean? Like they need to be thrown into the fire a little bit as quickly as they can without a bunch of busts. Like get me through Arkansas with that secondary where You don't have any major busts. Maybe they struggle a little bit, but you don't have anything that hurts you in terms of winning the game. And I'll feel better about them. But that interior defensive line, I don't know. I think you got obviously McLeod and Crawford and Amaris Williams and Jamonte Waller. You got some guys I think you can bring off the edge, but I'm really curious to see the interior. And maybe the Alabama A&M game won't be a good test because they're just going to be probably bigger and stronger. But it should be a test like you should dominate in the trenches. You should dominate a team like this in the trenches. And if you come out and you give up a few runs, I'm going to be like, hold up.
Yes. So that's my thing. If you were to ask me what's the number one or the two things that have to happen in this game, or what are the two things you need to happen for you to feel okay? Clean operation on offense, stop the run on defense. You better stop the run. If you can't stop the run against Alabama A&M, you're in trouble. Big trouble. And they're going to do they'll take their shots, but look, they're going to play the clock. They're going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to get that clock down and stay in the game, like Auburn's strategy was last year, and probably will be a little bit some this year. If you're the underdog, why wouldn't you do that with the way this clock is?
Okay, I have a thought on that. Jeffrey, do you want to do a prediction? And then I know you got Josh Newberg's show to do, or do you want to, or what? Are you good?
That's what I'm contemplating my prediction, man. I just can't get it to work out. I'm going to give Auburn's defense the benefit of the doubt, and not so much Auburn's defense, but A&M's lack of offense. I just presume that they're going to be sputtering. So I'm leaning towards a shutout.
That'd be a nice way to start the season.
That would be good.
I wonder when Auburn's last shutout is. Let's go look it up real quick.
Samford, maybe? Didn't they beat Samford like 56-0?
I believe you're right.
2018.
Oh, 2018.
So I'm going to boog this first game. I'm going to boog. I'm going to get in there with Kevin from Wilmer.
Oh, Alabama State. They shut out Alabama State second game of the 21 season, 62-0.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to go Auburn shut out Alabama A&M in 2016. And Zach, that's crazy that you're throwing this out there because that's the exact score I'm going with. Deja vu of 2016. Auburn comes out, looks the part, and shuts out Alabama A&M 55-0.
Oh.
That's my prediction, and I'm sticking to it. And before I go, don't forget PrizePicks, folks. Go check it out. Go to PrizePicks, the website. Go download the app. Use the promo code Auburn Live, all caps, with one word, and get you $50 once you play $5. All right.
Oh. All right, go say all the good things on Newberg's show.
Book it, 55-0. I'm out.
See ya. All right, what were you saying? On the clock issue. So my thought on that was two things. One, you're right. You never know. So, like, if you're Alabama A&M, to me, you have nothing to lose. So, like, on one hand, you could come in and go, "Hey, man, as a coach, if I could get out of this thing and have a moral victory to tell my team, that would be great." On the other hand, you could go, "What do I have to lose? I don't care if we lose 100-0. I'm gonna try everything I can. I'm gonna run our stuff, and whatever happens, happens." You know what I'm saying? Like, or you could go, maybe I'm a little conservative. I'm gonna play the clock because I'd love to get out of here. Maybe the score's 38-7, and I go, "Hey guys, 38-7 is not bad. Like, they didn't come close to covering. You guys competed, but you really didn't give yourself any chances. You just played it in a way to sort of get out of there somewhat unscathed." Or you're Alabama A&M and you go, "No, I'm going to play my stuff. And if it's 70-0, it's 70-0. And the other thing is how Hugh Freeze, Derek Nix, and Ken Austin, how they play this offense thing. Because Nick Freeze has hinted around huddling. He's talked about strategy with this in-helmet thing. He said, listen, we might as well wait till right up to 15 to give the play in. If I've got till 15 to call the play in the helmet, I can wait till 17, 18, whatever. Obviously it'll cut off, but you may tell Peyton, you may give him the play and go, "Hey, don't break the huddle till 15." Because the defense wants to see what you're in. He's like, well, if I can limit that, if I only give them a few seconds to see what we're in, so I can sit here and I can tell Peyton everything he wants to hear in the helmet and go, hey, I'm going to tell you everything. And then you're breaking the huddle as close to 15 as you can. And you're going straight out there and running the play. The defense, then they don't have very limited time to see what you got going on and to call a play. And it could be, so I'm interested to see what Hugh does on offense from a strategy standpoint. And if that bleeds clock too, like he sort of hinted like, maybe you're not going to see this furious pace that I'm so used to doing. Maybe at times, big play. That's what you saw from Gus and them. Big play, go follow it up, go get to the line. But might be a little bit more consistent pace than what you've seen in the past from, what you maybe saw from Hugh in like 16 or 15 at Ole Miss and stuff.
Well, in those years, again, the game's changed. I think we have to acknowledge that. I think we have to acknowledge that above all else. The game has changed so much now where underdogs have a clear advantage in every game you play now. They do. And you have to be more cognizant of the clock for that reason. You have to understand where you're at in the game and how quickly that clock is running now. And it was something that Auburn used to its advantage a year ago because Auburn was the underdog in most of the games they played in. And they're probably going to do it again because when you start going tempo, if you go 3 and out, you just you're not going to have as many possessions as you once had. It's probably less, 2 or 3 less is what I would guess on average than what you would have. Let's go back to 2015, 2016 when he was doing it at Ole Miss. Yeah. So that's number one. I find this interesting. And this is just like, so guys, another thing is injuries, right? They're so worried about injuries and they're so worried about depth. And I don't necessarily blame them, but I mean, you don't even get to hit at practice anymore, hardly. Like actually tackle and learn how to tackle when you get to the games. You're going to miss a lot of tackles because you haven't gotten to do that.
Yeah, we've heard that a little bit.
Well, that's just common sense. You're going to miss tackles because you haven't been tackling. You don't get to tackle anymore. So it's really tough. And then you're so when you finally do get to tackle, guys get hurt more than usual. Guys play less snaps now in shorter games. I just don't I don't understand this new age of football, Justin. It drives me insane. I don't get it.
To your point, by the way, about pace of play, which the other rule that was changed however many years ago was, where the defense now has a chance to get, if you substitute, they get to substitute. That's changed things too. Not just that slows it down, but it also, there's times where the offense is like, well, I mean, there goes our advantage. I don't even try. Like, I'll do it some, but I won't even do it as much as I was going to do it because they get to substitute, whatever. But yeah, I just looked it up. 10 years ago, there were 18 teams that averaged over 80 plays a game that season. I think it was the 15-16 season, I think is what I looked up, or some almost 10 years ago. Okay. 18 teams that averaged over 80 plays per game that year.
Okay.
Last season, there was 1.
Well, there you go.
There was 1. So I didn't even look up what the average, but obviously, you're 1 versus 9 years ago, and you add, that was 15, 14,
don't take
15.
It from me.
You had a team. Baylor averaged in 2014-15. Baylor averaged 90 plays a game. They averaged that in 2014. You had 17 teams average it. That's crazy.
Was that Philip Montgomery?
Probably. That was when Baylor was. It was Art Briles, and they were just.
Well, that might even give more context if it was Philip Montgomery. Maybe Philip Montgomery was at Auburn last year going, we need to go faster. And Freeze was like, no, we need to benefit our defense. And if you wonder why there was discombobulation, there was probably a very vast different, differing styles going on there.
Yeah, among other things.
To say the least, right?
Yeah. And then in 17-18, it jumped to 6. Only 6 teams averaged over 80 plays per game. So from 16 to 17 to 17 to 18 was a big dip. And let's see if it stayed kind of consistent. Yeah, and it looks like it kind of stayed consistent from there. So I bet you could probably go back and do a rule 16-17 to 17-18. I wonder if that's when they put in the substitution rule. But right in there, it went from about 14, 18 teams over 80 plays per game to 6 to 5 or 6 to 4 1 year. So yeah, it changed a lot right there.
It's just something. It's something to keep in mind. I mean, we're not just talking about this game. We're talking about the beginning of football season, a new season where they've changed more rules. They've moved the goalposts again with things, and the underdog has benefited greatly. And as Auburn gets better and adds more players, they become less of an underdog than they were. And then you have to consider these things because they were when we went into a game last year, we're looking at them as the underdog. Well, if they bleed the clock, they got a chance to be in this game. Well, now it's going to be the other way when they start playing Vandy and Arkansas and the teams that they should beat, right?
Yeah, I do think in this game, I think that again, my feeling is that they're just going to come out juiced, absolutely juiced, just for a lot of reasons, and so that's why I think they're going to get to 50. I just think they're going to have big plays. I think you'll see a little bit of pace, but I just think the guys, I think you have a bunch of guys make plays. I think Jarquez is going to make a play. Damari, Cam, Keandre. I just think you're going to have a bunch of good plays there.
Yeah.
That's assuming the defense can get off the field. So that's probably the thing I'm looking for is big plays. Yeah, but I want to see enough to I want a lot of guys to get involved on offense. I want them to run enough plays to feel like they learned a lot. I don't want it to be so overmatched that, like I said, that they end up running 60 plays and they win and they score a bunch of points, but they only get 60 plays out of it. And you're going, golly, that's like barely half of a scrimmage. We would have gotten more out of the scrimmage ourselves, and that's what I don't necessarily want to happen. And then defensively, like we talked about, I want to see Auburn get off the field. I mean, and not give up and really own the trenches. Like do what you're supposed to do against a team like this, which is completely dominate to the point where you're like, okay, Alabama A&M, they could run all day and they're not going to get 50 yards in this game. That's how it should feel. You shouldn't go, okay, why is Alabama A&M averaging 4.2 yards a carry? That's, where you look at it and you go, Auburn won, but you're going, that's not great. How do you give up 4 yards a carry? That's not good at all. So do what you're supposed to do on defense and completely dominate that side, the trenches side, and then try to get enough plays in on that side, on the offensive side that you feel like some guys got some good reps. The offensive line got some good reps. Come out healthy, obviously.
And I don't know much about. I mean, Zach could probably tell us more about what Alabama A&M's style is. Do they like to throw it a lot? Do they run the ball a lot? And I know their number one running back had 700 yards last year, so they probably throw the ball more than they run the ball. It sounds like looking at the stats, but you'd have to go look, all right, if y'all are really wanting to have a chance in this game, probably throwing the ball 50 times is not your best bet.
No.
Unless you just get behind really quick, right? Zach says Maynor is a former quarterback, so he loves to air it out. I'm guessing, is Maynor the head coach? I'm guessing, or OC. Anyway, so yeah, they throw the ball a lot. I'd say if you're Auburn, the best thing, Connell Maynor is the head coach. Okay, so if you're Auburn, the best thing to do is to change their game plan. Whatever they come in there wanting to do, stop it and make them do something else. Make them go, crap, we need to scrap that and do something else. Or if they come in there like, hey, we're going to try to run the ball this week and melt that clock, you got to stop it enough to make them go, well, that's not going to be it today.
Yeah.
That would be taking care of business in a game like this. Make them change that game plan.
Yeah, I was trying to look at that UMass game last year. Auburn kind of rolled in that one 59-14. And then, of course, the very next week, you barely won at Cal, so you just never quite know. Alabama A&M's got a new defensive coordinator. They talked about that a little bit this week. just a little bit of unknown there in terms of what they might do defensively. But then again, Auburn should have the same advantage offensively. I mean, yes, you kind of know what they're going to do, but there should be a little bit of shifts from last year to this year. And of course, you got new talent at receiver, so it should look a little bit different. Yeah, I think it's just get through this game healthy. Feel like you saw a little bit of efficiency. Feel like you dominated in the trenches. I think that'll be huge. See if some guys flash a little bit. No drops, nothing super glaring.
And
that's about it. You can't really go beyond that in terms of taking something out of this game. You're right. There's probably more things you could go, than
easily.
go, oh man, it's one of those games where you need to do what you're supposed to do, and that's what your takeaway out of the game should be. Auburn did what they should do. They did what they were supposed to do. Whereas the other way would go, Auburn didn't dominate in a couple of areas, and that's real concerning. That's what you don't want to be saying.
Right. And if you made it this far in the show, I want to once again, I think this is the third time I want to make sure I'm saying I think Auburn's going to win this game. I know if you've listened to some things to this point, it's like, oh, well, I mean, this and this. I want to say I think Auburn's going to win this game. I just want to point out some things that we need to point out. Okay, that's all, because I know how.
So halftime score, you think is what? Like, what do you think's
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be lower at halftime because I think there's going to be some things they got to work through. If they really are playing all these young receivers like we think they will, I think there's going to be some mistakes. I think there's going to be some things that hold them back from just going crazy in the first half. So I think 21-7 is something that could possibly be a halftime score. 24-7, 24-10, 24-0, something of that nature, where you're not to where you come out in the after halftime, you're like, yeah, we're in good shape. Like you come out after halftime, you're going, all right, we gotta go score.
Hey, what'd you think about the 40-point per game comment? We heard that from Brandon Frazier. Said that's the goal. That's what Derek Nix has written on his piece of paper is 40 points a game for this offense. And of course, he said, I think we can do it. Peyton Thornton said he thought it was feasible. Even Champ Anthony that day said offense is going to score a lot of points. Of course, I put in the story for reference the 2010. I forgot. The 2010 offense scored 40 points a game. I think it was. But they haven't hit that but once in the last, or it might have been 13. The 13 offense might have actually been 40. I can't remember if I went all the way back to 2010 or not. Let's see. Let me look that up real quick because I want to get that right. Scoring offense 2010. 41. Okay. So the 2010 offense with Cam was 41 points a game. The 2013 offense was 40 points a game. That's it. 2014 was at 35 points a game, and then the 17 offense and the 19 offense were 33 points a game. So I appreciate setting the bar high. I'm all for that. I'm all for it. Say, hey, we want to hit 40. I'm all for that. Probably not very probable. I wouldn't say it's not realistic. I mean, it's not like because I don't necessarily want to say that, but not very probable that they do that when you've only done it twice, and it was maybe the two best offenses in the history of the school. Barely got the 4, like at 40, basically. What do you think a good number would be? They were at 26 last year, 26 points per game last year. Like I said, 33 and up, and you're pretty elite. I mean, you're pretty dynamic if you're that. You go back and look. I mean, if they just average a handful more points, they beat Georgia, they beat Bama. What else was pretty close last year that they?
Okay, so I think they were a touchdown away.
Miss.
So give me 7 more on top of that. 26 plus 7 is what?
I'm gonna let you do that quick math. Can you do it?
I'm not good at math. 30.
But you get Georgia and Bama. Ole Miss, I think you ended up losing that one wasn't that 28-14, although that was 21-14 late, and Ole Miss, I think, tacked on a late one and kind of pushed it out. But that was a game where defensively you were playing pretty decent, but offense was a joke that game. But if you got more offensive firepower in that Ole Miss game, you put more stress on them, and I think that whole game is different. If you almost knew that you weren't going to do much. That whole game is different. If you're a team that's averaging 31 a game and you've got a little more firepower, I think certainly those three. Cal's not very close. But what do you think's a good number for this offense? 26 last year.
33.
That's a big jump. 8 more points a game is a big jump.
It's a touchdown.
Let's see where that puts them last year. If they're at 33 last year, they are fifth, and they're tied for A&M with 33 points a game. LSU is 45, Georgia 40, Ole Miss 35, Bama 34, A&M 33, Missouri 33.
I mean, how many games where one touchdown would have done it, right? One touchdown would have won the game for you. At least 3.
Yeah, Auburn hadn't been there in a while. They were 26 points per game last year. They were 24 points per game in 22. They were 28 points per game in 21. They were 25 points a game in 20. And then, so they haven't sniffed 30 points a game since 2019. Haven't even come close.
I think if they average 33 a game, they win 9 games.
I would probably agree with you. That's if you average in 33, yeah, it's pretty. I'm about to sneeze. That's pretty strong.
Yeah,
and I would agree. A team if you're averaging 33 points a game, and you've got a decent defense, don't even have to be a juggernaut. You just got to have an adequate defense. Yes, that's kind of a recipe for a team that should win 9 games unless you have a turnover problem. But if you have a turnover problem, that's probably not going to result in 33 points a game. If you're scoring 33 points a game, your defense should be on the field a little less. Like, yeah,
yep.
A lot of benefits to that. That's just yeah, and I'd have to go back and look last year at like what more importantly, it's like what they average in conference play, what they average take away, the UMass game or take away Samford, and what do you do? I bet you their conference points per game was
lower,
probably right at 20. It could have been 19, but you're probably at 18 to 20 in conference. I bet maybe right at 20. You had Arkansas where you scored a bunch of points. Mississippi State, you did pretty well, but even Vanderbilt, you only scored 31 in Nashville. So
yeah, right.
But yeah, I'm kind of with you. 33 points per game would be fantastic. That's a touchdown a game better. Are they a touchdown a game better? You'd like to think so. I mean, if you factor in everything that's different, you'd like to think it translates to one more touchdown a game. I don't think, I don't think that's crazy at all. I mean, cohesion on the staff, that 3-headed monster of Austin, Nix, and Freeze all on the same page in terms of terminal. Like I think they'll be able to bounce off of each other, and there should be a lot of good ideas and a lot of adjustments. Probably the best receiver room, top to bottom. I don't know. I wrote about it. In a long time. They've had a couple, like a good 1-2 punch, top to bottom. Keandre, Robert Lewis, Malcolm Simmons, Cam Coleman. I mean, if those freshmen are what they think they are, like top to bottom, maybe one of the better rooms in a decade or more. I mean, really, in terms of just overall ability. Rivaldo Fairweather, toss him in there. There haven't been a bunch of great tight ends. CJ is Philip Lutzenkirchen and Rivaldo Fairweather. Like that's like it in the last 14 years.
Right.
Talented running backs, 3 of them that all can do different things. That can break tackles. They get a little speed. Yeah, I don't think it's crazy to say 33 points a game at all. I don't, that's a big jump. A touchdown a game is a huge jump. Just like if your defense went from giving up 28 a game to 21 game, that's a monster jump when you're talking about averages. But yeah, I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's a crazy expectation to put on them. I don't think you're being a homer by saying I think this offense should produce 33 points a game. Yeah.
Yeah, because under 30 has meant losing season. So it's got to be over 30 if you want to have a winning season.
Yeah. I mean, you look at who they're going to play, right? So Oklahoma, you're going to have to put up points to make you win that one. By the way, I forgot Oklahoma got Deion Burks. That offense could be kind of freaky. We'll see. Of course, Auburn wanted him bad, and that guy's a monster.
Yeah, there's a lot of good things about Oklahoma.
Oof. Yeah, they got some players. Oklahoma. Wonder if we'll see. I wonder if maybe they're potentially a little bit of a sleeper team. They're right there with Auburn at 7.5 wins on Vegas.
Yeah,
And you got a quarterback that could be, who knows how good he could be. You got Deion Burks. You're gonna have a little bit. You got a fantastic linebacker and fantastic safety, like all conference players. Like we'll see. Their defense has got to get better. Their defense last 2 years hasn't been great. But anyway, back to the point was scoring. Oklahoma's going to score. Missouri's going to score. Georgia and Bama are going to score. A&M probably is going to score. I mean, Connor Wigman, like they're gonna I think have some ability. Kentucky, not sure yet. I mean, they're they lost quarterback, running back, but not sure where they're going to be offensively, like how prolific. But Georgia, Bama, Missouri, Oklahoma are for sure scoring, and of course Kentucky on the road it's hard to score anyway. So yeah, you're going to have to get to 33 points a game if you want to have a chance to beat Oklahoma, Missouri, or A&M.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's get out of here. So what's a final prediction for this Alabama A&M game?
I'm gonna go 42-10.
42-10, which would be the under and not covering. Right. That's possible. I'd be a little, but we'll have to be a little bummed with 42 points. We'll see how it plays out, though. Maybe some freaky things happen where you're like, well, they didn't get enough possessions, or they fumbled a punt and gave Alabama A&M an extra possession, or some, who knows what.
Right.
Yeah, I'll go. I just really think Auburn's going to get the 50. Maybe that's 49. Maybe that's 52. So I'll say 52. Man, but if I give them 7, they don't quite cover. I think they're right at it. So, let's say 55-7 Auburn, which just covers.
I like it.
55. That gets you. That could be. It could be a couple field goals, right? It could be 7 touchdowns, and a couple field goals.
Jeffrey's 55-0.
Yeah. So let's say 50. Let's give Alabama A&M some points. 55-7, just because I think I want them to cover. So I kind of wanted to go 52-7, but that didn't cover. All right, should be a good one. 6:30 Saturday night should be a fun one. We'll kind of see some new faces, and then we'll turn the attention towards Cal, which would be a good one. Good day, a pretty good day, right? You got Clemson, Georgia at 11. You got Notre Dame and Texas A&M that night. I think it's at 6:30, about the same time as the Auburn game. You got
LSU and USC
Sunday night. LSU, USC Sunday night, and then you got Miami at Florida Saturday.
Oh, that's a big one.
Afternoon.
Boy, that's a big one for Auburn fans. You almost need Florida to lose for recruiting purposes.
You just want that program to go ahead and tank for a minute.
I mean, either way, Florida's going to be there. They'll get a new coach and get some new energy if that happens. But I don't know what's best there. You just really want to keep your recruits, and they're trying to get.
Oh, look, it's all. I feel like we're heading right into and we'll go. We don't have to talk about this, but I feel like we're heading right into a Florida just kind of ho hum this year. They fire Billy Napier and they go guns and blazing after Lane Kiffin. And depending on what Ole Miss does, I mean, look at what if Ole Miss makes the playoff and whatever. I mean, I guess Kiffin could stay and go, well, we still haven't won in Atlanta. That's the goal. But you could make the pitch. Listen, man, you kind of done everything you can do over there. Not in terms of winning. You haven't won a championship, but you've got all this talent. You haven't quite gotten over the hump. Anyway, that would be fascinating if. I feel like it would make a lot of sense, a good fit, and
yeah, I think so.
It'd be kind of crazy. So decent day of football Saturday, a couple of big ones. Notre Dame's gonna be interesting. I don't know much about. You got Riley Leonard at Notre Dame. Don't know a lot about skill players or kind of what they're going to be about at College Station. I kind of would go with A&M. I don't know that Notre Dame's supposed to be any type of juggernaut or anything. Good team, but big first game for Oko and them. If they come out at the gates right there and win that one, that'd be
I think that's the sleeper team in the SEC is A&M.
Yeah, I've heard that a couple times, and in my predictions, I wrote that. I was like, I predicted that to be a loss for Auburn, partly because I wanted them to 8-4, 4-4 is where I saw them, And so if I had them winning that one, they would have been 9-3. So I could have swapped Oklahoma and A&M, or maybe I could have swapped maybe Missouri, maybe Kentucky and A&M or something like that. But yeah, I think A&M could be a little bit better than people think. That's going to be an interesting. And look, by that point of the season, I also don't know where Auburn's going to be. That's a really hard one to predict because Auburn depth wise, what happened, and where they at? They've got a little bit of depth. They don't have amazing depth. So by the time A&M rolls around, I don't know what happens if Auburn's fully healthy. Okay, but if they're not, then that's a dangerous game too. I mean, It only takes a few guys. What if Keontae's out? What if Eugene Asante's out? What if Fairweather's out or Keandre Lambert-Smith? Like, it only takes a couple guys to change some things of what this Auburn team has to be fully healthy to reach kind of where we think they can be. Couple of guys get hurt and they could be thin pretty quick. So that's why that A&M one's a little bit hard to predict. All right, let's get out of here. We'll be at the game. We'll have some coverage afterwards. Obviously, is it a big? Not a lot of recruits, probably. I would imagine. I mean, obviously we got the big one, but it's not it's not 15, 4 stars here. Some 15.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see what 2026 guys show up, because that's almost where you're turning your attention now that you have 23 commits going into the season, which is a little bit different than what we're used to, and they may have more very, very soon. So, I think you should expect to see almost all of those commits there, and that's a big deal.
Yeah. All eyes on Deuce Knight. But I mean, I think we've kind of pounded that one into the ground over the last month. Like everything has been sort of leading up to. So a good visit, as Jeffrey said, the news could lag a little bit behind the visit in terms of an actual public decision there, but all eyes on making sure that he has a good visit, which there's no reason to think it doesn't go, fantastically. So,
right.
All right, well, let's roll. Appreciate everybody joining us. Go to auburnlive.com and subscribe. 50% off kickoff sale. I don't know when that ends. It's got to be coming up soon, but
Friday.
Go take it Friday. So if you're listening to this today, now go sign up. And also, you're seeing this on our YouTube channel. You're seeing this one free, but go sign up for the Auburn Live Plus YouTube channel. It's $3 a month. You get a little bit additional exclusive content, a little bit more context on the recruiting side from the guys. We'll try to pop in with some football videos, or some other interviews, like we had Stephen Pearl on, or we had Peter Burks on SEC Network. Like some of that stuff we might toss on there that you'll get access to only if you're a Plus subscriber, $3 a month on YouTube, or if you're a member of AuburnLive.com. We post those videos on the message board. So you might as well just join our site, and then you can get all of it.
Yeah, that's the way.
That's what I would do. That's what I would do if I were you.
That's the way.
That's the way to go.
50% off annual right now until Friday. Definitely get it.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer, guys. All right, we'll see you guys. I guess we'll be back with the football show Sunday. Well, I guess everybody will see it Monday morning. We'll be recapping this game and looking ahead to Cal. All right, let's get out of here. See y'all.